That's a humbling experience. Okay, welcome everybody to our first brown bag for this year. Thank you all for being here, either online or in person. We are going to begin our presentation today with Claudia Cornejo Happel. Thank you, from the SoTL. Right.
All right, so my name is Claudia Cornejo Happel. Just Claudia is fine though. And I'm at the Centers for Teaching and Technology. And specifically, I'm thankful to Tracy today for inviting me to speak about SoTL and the opportunities that we are offering on campus. We have CT2, obviously. And Daniel, if you could pull up the website for me. Yeah. I will talk a little bit about the opportunities that we're offering, but I especially wanted to point out our website because a lot of the information, or all of the information that I will be talking about is available for you on the website. I did not want to bring any handouts because I know how easily they get lost. And so on the website, all of that information is available. At CT2, as far as SoTL is concerned, we work together with a SoTL leadership team, which is a group of 9 faculty. Actually, 3 out of them, 2 right now, are from the College of Education, Dr. Arrington and Dr. Baudour. And so you have a great resource also in-house to get information from them about SoTL. As far as our programs are concerned, I'm going to point out a few, and you can find them here in programs. So we have 4 programs that we're currently offering supporting SoTL. Some of them also are associated with. So I will start with the first one, which is the SoTL Award. And the SoTL Award is an annual award that is awarded to one faculty member on campus based on their body of SoTL research. And SoTL, I mean, College of Education, you know what SoTL is, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. Our specific emphasis is for teaching and learning at the level of higher education. So any research that goes on teaching and learning in the college classroom, I know out of College of Education, there's also been some research on working with student teachers in their practicum, but also in the classroom. I know Richard Cleveland did a project last year. He was one of our SoTL Fellows actually working on blogging and how that reflective practice supports student learning. So there has been a lot of projects coming out of College of Education on SoTL. So the award is given once a year to one faculty member on their complete body of research in SoTL. The criteria for that are basically quality, volume, as well as significance. And we are generally inviting submissions for that award at the end of the calendar year. So starting November, December, submission will close in January. And then we make a selection with the support from the SoTL leadership team. And the person winning the award then also is invited to present at our SoTL Commons Conference that happens in April. The other program that we have, the SoTL Award, has a stipend of $2,000 associated with it. The other programs we have are SoTL Fellows. And what is different between SoTL Fellows and SoTL Award is that the SoTL Fellows receive the fellowship based on a specific project that they are working on. So as part of the application process, there is a project that is proposed. And again, the SoTL leadership team helps with the selection of the winners of the fellowship. And then the fellow works on the project with some monetary support from CT2. And again, also presents their work at the conference. The other big benefit of the SoTL Fellowship is that each awardee works together with a mentor who's had a lot of experience in SoTL, having published in different venues on SoTL, having presented on SoTL. And so having that mentorship component is another important part of the fellowship. A new project that we've started this year is the SoTL Academy. And our goal with that is basically to offer some type of support also for faculty who are fairly new to SoTL, especially in the context of higher ed. And so what we're doing with the SoTL Academy, we're inviting proposals for that and selecting a group of faculty. This year will be 5 faculty members in the SoTL Academy, who are all, again, suggesting a proposal to work on, but then it's a proposal at the beginning stages. So there doesn't have to be a whole lot of background research at the beginning of the academy. A lot of that then is developed as a team with the community as we go through it. And the last program is SoTL Learning Community, which we're offering. This one is very similar to a book study where we're getting together as a group and working through a book. There is no monetary support for that one. Any questions about these opportunities? Yes, Amanda.
Does it have to be something that we're doing in our classroom?
It does not necessarily have to be something that you're doing in your classroom. And that is actually a good point to bring up, because a lot of the discussion in SoTL is, okay, if I'm doing it to my own student, is it even valid? Is there not a certain bias? But so it does not have to be something that you're doing in your classroom. A lot of the SoTL projects that are really successful are actually projects that are collaborative. So if you're working together with a colleague and saying, okay, here's the idea, we're working together, we're doing it in your class or in my class. But yes, it does not have to be something that happens in your class. Any other questions? As far as the proposals, Tracy asked me to mention some tips and tricks for the proposals. And I think generally what we've seen in the past is that COE submissions had a little bit of a leg up because it is so close to your disciplinary research that generally the proposals that we get from COE are really good. I think a lot of the focus that as the leadership team makes the selection, a big focus is placed for especially the award and the fellowship on, does the proposed project have sound methodology? Because that is something that on the campus in general, a lot of people find challenging because SoTL methodology might not necessarily align with their disciplinary research methodologies. So putting emphasis on the methodology section, showing how the project that you want to work on is connected to the literature that's out there, and that's something that actually is significant and not something just out of thin air. I think that is important. Okay, the last thing, since I get to be here, I just want to point out also that if you could go back to the website real quick. So you see here we have on campus, we have the IJ SoTL scholarship, International Journal for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. So if you have a SoTL project that you are ready to publish on, that is a possible venue. But we also have an annual conference, which is held in the end of March, early April, every year in Savannah. If you have something to submit to SoTL or have a project in the beginning stages and want to present something before publishing, it's a great venue. We have special registration rates for Georgia Southern faculty. Deadline to submit proposals for that will be the end of October. So unless you have any more question, I will hand it back to the next person.
Dr. Anderson, would you like?
When you're ready.
Well, I'm just excited to be here. This is my first official duty as the chair of the Faculty Research Committee. And so it was really nice to get ready for it because it was a good review for me for what I've got ahead in the next year. And having, reviewed the proposals last year, and I think, I'll be very excited to answer any questions you have. First of all, I was just curious if anybody in the audience had received a faculty research award.
I don't think we've had any recipients of the College of Education, at least in the last several years. Long time ago? Yeah.
Okay, so there's an expert over there. Well, but getting, so, because, it's interesting to me, it is a wonderful resource within the university. One award is for $10,000 to get your research started, and another is for $5,000 to get things, something that you're working on going. And, it's real tough to get that kind of money. So I must share with you that the competition is really high. We review a lot of proposals, and, just so you know that, but, I've talked to people who have been recipients, and it has really pushed them forward. And so, it's a wonderful mechanism. It's got good guidelines, and it's actually, I'm writing an NIH proposal right now, and let me tell you, this is an easy proposal to do. So I'll just start out with, is there a go forward thing?
You can just tell me, I think, to do it.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay.
So there are two proposals, and I'll talk about the big one first, because in actuality, a lot of the submission details are similar. Just the purpose and some of the little details are different. But anyway, the big one is the Internal Seed Funding Program grant, and that is the $10,000 one. And as you can see, it's due in January, so you have some good time to get it together. And, it's double spaced 6 pages. That is not bad at all. But you have to be very clear about what you're going to do, and, have a really sound, methodologically supported project, with the background. I mean, even in that short time, the committee expects rigor. And so, proposals that are put together haphazardly, with spelling errors, that does not make the committee happy. Or if things don't make sense. I mean, and this is, grant writing 101. What you say you're going to do, your methods have to match, and your evaluation has to match. And so when it doesn't, you say you're going to do this, and your methods are nothing, people are going, well, where are they doing that? Then you're going to just go into the no pile. So, it's a great opportunity, but you need to really pay attention to your science. And it doesn't, I read things on, the details of frogs in swamps in coastal Georgia. And so the whole issue is that it needs to be prepared so that somebody out of your discipline can understand it and can, be able to see your science despite the fact that they know nothing about what you're talking about. And so, it was interesting as we were being assigned, the 10 or 15 proposals to read each on a committee of about 20. People were saying, well, I don't know anything about, the biochemical composition of, but that doesn't matter because it's really science across the board. And, educational science is as rigorous as anything else. So, that's the nice thing about these proposals is, it really respects everybody's scholarly work. Okay, you can only submit one proposal. You can't try to double dip. If you have been awarded a proposal in the past year, you're out of the running. So since that doesn't affect any of you, you're all eligible at this point. And joint proposals are fine. They're really happy to receive joint proposals. The 2 or 3 or however many of you just have to figure out how you're going to divide up the stipend. Stipend of $3,000 on each proposal available for the project. And then fringe is also included above that. And so you will have to calculate your own fringe. I'll talk about that a little more when we get to the budget. But the application is very straightforward. Follow the directions. Follow the directions. Follow the directions. You know, on the cover page, it asks for your funding history. Well, it's amazing how many people submitted without, you know, if you don't have any funding history, then you should put none. And you know, then you aren't penalized. But if you put nothing, then your goes into the not consideration pile, because they want everything filled out and everything addressed. So, you know, if you write your abstract and you don't have a good purpose statement in there, you know, because they have a little checklist that you have to go by to make sure that everything's included. So, and then the biographical sketch is an abbreviated one. There's different different requirements for each one, but it's no longer than 2 pages. So, you know, you just have to decide how best to present yourself based on what you've done. And if you haven't done very much, you know, this is fine with the committee. You know, they are not, this is really this is seed money for you to get a grant. And so if you don't have any funding and if you don't have any preliminary data, this is the place for you to be going. You've all got good ideas. Okay, so then you have to have an abstract. And in the directions, it says very clearly what must be in the abstract. Follow the directions. And it's only 200 words, which, you know, sometimes for many people is a challenge. But trust me, the people who take the application in, they actually count the words and they write a little number by it to say, you know, 198, 154, 200. You know, there are bean counters in this world. So, you know, what?
201.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, and then you have your proposal narrative, and I'll talk more about that later, and also the budget and justification. You can add appendices on this proposal up to 3 pages, and they give you some examples. You know, one is a bibliography, which almost, you know, everybody includes. And then, you know, sometimes if you're working with Coastal Georgia Water Department of Natural Resources, you know, a letter that's saying that you have access to their kind of thing. Or if you're working with a school system, that you have access to do this in that school system. It's just, you know, they want to know that you're all set and ready to do it. Question?
Do you have to have IRB approval for your funding for your project before you apply?
No, you do not have to have it before you apply, but you do have to have it before you start. Right. So this project starts July 1. So that means that you should, you know, if you're awarded the monies, which I think, you know, they let you know mid-spring semester, you know, you got to get at it so that you have your IRB approval done. They won't give you any money until you know, got all that in place. Okay. So no, you don't have to have it. You just have to indicate that you will be submitting you know, your IRB for IRB approval prior to starting the project. Okay, and next page. So I already talked about the first two. On the purpose and objectives in your, you know, it's very straightforward. What do you intend to do? You have to, you know, outline your purpose, your goals and objectives, your specific aims to say what it is that you're going to address, develop. And the really critical thing that they're looking all the way through this is what external funding will this lead to? And you have to specifically identify where this is going, because by the end of May, when your project is done, you have to show that you have done, you know, you have to describe some active work toward working to that proposal, you know, to that proposal. You know, like based on this, I was able to get, you know, a draft of a proposal written up to the methodology, and, you know, I'm now incorporating my results, that kind of thing. And of course, you want your intended results, products, or consequences. Then, you know, there's a significance section, and that is all about why in the world is this important to do? You know, why is it important to understand what motivates students to learn? Why is it important to evaluate, you know, what's going on with kids who are behaviorally acting out so that they can't pay attention in school? And so, and you know, it's kind of like, how does that contribute to our needed general knowledge on this topic? And again, see this thread of external funding, how, if you get this money, is that going to make a difference for you getting external funding? Well, how you plan to disseminate this. And you really, this is your job to, you know, convince the committee of why this project is so important and why should you be funded. Okay. Next one. So then you know, have your work plan or your methodology, and, you know, you have the details, procedures of this is what I'm going to do. This is the plan. You have to include a timetable so that people know what you're going to do when. You know, I remember one proposal that was discussed that somebody said, well, I'll be working mostly on the literature review update in the fall semester, and then I will start, you know, after the beginning of second semester to do the study. Well, May 30th comes early, and the committee questioned whether, you know, the work plan was realistic, that this person was really going to be setting aside enough time to be successful to get the project done, because they had quite an ambitious project. And so, you know, you have to think about that timetable in terms of reality, and also that the committee can see, you know, because they're all researchers for the most part, that are reviewers. And so they all know, you know, what a timetable looks like to be realistic. Again, that point I made earlier, make sure that, you know, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them, and you do what you say you're going to do. Because, you know, I mean, I've heard, well, this proposal doesn't make any sense at all. You know, so then also your data analysis plan outline, and then your evaluation plan. So how will you know that you did what you said you were going to do? I mean, this is very straightforward, basic research, you know, that we're teaching all our students. And, so they expect us to be able to produce documents that reflect that. Next. Okay. So then again, just more on the evaluation. And the piece I'll just highlight there is, again, this is where they want to see, how are you set and ready to go for your external funding application? And they want it spelled out, not just, well, I'm going to apply to NIH and see what these 3 divisions have available for grants. No, they want, you to have looked, because there's, is there an education place to apply?
Yes.
And what is that?
It is the
Institute
Institute of Additional Sciences. Yeah.
Okay. So, they want specific grant numbers because, they know that there are recurring grants. Yes, you might have an RFA that might come out in the middle of the year. But, they want to know that you have looked at what's available that is going to be applicable to you going forward on your topical area. So, they're looking for specific RFAs and then a little statement about how this grant would fit, that grant would fit.
Those are available for IES, so that should be very easy.
Yeah, but I cannot tell you how many people just didn't do that part. They just said, I will submit a grant in fall semester after I'm finished with this. Not going to work. So I think that covers it all. Oh, one thing on the timetable, your funds are available only until May 1st. So, the grant time ends May 30th, and that is just for processing with the internal Georgia Southern Research Office things. And if anybody of you work with that, you need a little time. And, and my word to you is, I say this to everybody, my junior faculty, spend every cent you asked for. And of course, they want it to be spent in terms of how you said you would spend it. At the end, you have to figure out if you've got $500 left, how within your project you, although if you want to be good and dedicated, if you give $500 back, then one of your faculty colleagues is going to get some money because it goes into the publication fund that the faculty research committee does. So, some places, some disciplines, in order to publish, you have to pay a $500 to $700 fee. And, so that's available for faculty to apply for. There's a small pot of money for that. But it goes, like last year, it was completely spent by January. And then there were people that had application at the end, and I think, they got a couple $100 toward it.
Is the research committee responsible for those funds as well?
Yes.
So it's like open access journals would be one of the.
Right.
for those
Mm-hmm. And you have to provide a justification for why you need to publish this in a journal that is costing, because, there are so many out there.
Right.
But that's not part of this program. It's part of another program that the Faculty Research Committee works with. Next. Oh, then you get to the budget. It's a very easy budget. I mean, so easy. But again, you have to fill in all the blanks. If you don't submit your fringe on your stipend that you want, you're going to, that's going to be omitting part of the application, and out you go. So, this is available online. you know, it is easy peasy. And you don't have to itemize out the supplies. You can just put a broad category. Tony, you had a
I
question?
did. So is this, I'm assuming it's a form in which are the formulas populated so that, because many of us, I could not tell you by my fringe how it's.
No, you have to go to the OSRA website and figure that out.
Just-
Mhm. That is not part of the resource that's within this document. And yeah.
Will our Office of ORSSP help us figure out fringe?
Yeah, I think there's a table, I can help you
Okay.
figure it out, but yeah.
So
If
if
you
you
have
have questions,
two
fine, go to
resources.
Tracy
Yeah,
or.
yeah.
And who is your OSRA contract?
Christy. Reagan.
Christy Reagan. If you just send Christy an
Yeah.
email saying, I'm putting in for $3,000, please send me my fringe for that. You know, she, and you know, you tell her like, whether it's, you know, the seed grant is 1 month and this is a whole year, you know, and so it just, she just sends it back to you in a day or two. Yes, very helpful. But I think there's some, you know, they like you to remember how much more you get over and above. Anyway, and then the justification, you have to justify every single thing. And the equipment that you can go to the next slide. The equipment that you get has to be specific to the project you're carrying out. There's no ability for computers, laptops, any kind of things that, you know, would be considered general. It's like if the project you're doing, one of the things I remember distinctly, you know, was these water researchers last year, you know, they were ordering beakers and you know, all these things that, and somebody said, is this just for general supply? No, this was specifically for that project.
So the $3,000 is stipend if you have a 2 investigator.
You have to divide it up. And then the fringe is on top of that. So that might, you know, if you've got 30% fringe, that's, you know, another probably for 2 of you, that would take up, you know, another $500. That is over and above that. And then you'd have $6,500 left for, and you can hire a research assistant. They can only work specifically on that project. You can't just have one for, you know, you have to be very specific on what that person's going to do that contributes to the process. Tony?
Is these $3,000 are not part of the $10,000 total, correct?
Yes.
And that's maximum you can spend on stipends. If you have 3 people, you each get 1,000.
Exactly. Mhm. Plus your fringe for 3 people, over and above. And then that leaves how much you have left.
But you can opt to not pay it yourself, right?
Yeah.
So add more, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, research costs a lot, so I mean, I want to try to maximize what I have for research, so.
Yeah, and I mean, you can say you only want 1,000 stipend. You know, it just is however it meets your specific needs. But, you know, most people are looking to, you know, have some extra support. I think there was only 1 out of about 50 applications last year that didn't include stipend. Maybe not at 100%, but, and if you get any books or media that, you know, say you're going to be using in your project or your teaching, has to go through the library. It's, you know, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the university. And any equipment that you also belongs to the university. Same as always. And the travel, there is no travel to conferences. There's no travel for anything except, you know, like if you have to travel to Savannah to collect your data. And that can be included, but not to, you know, and they even said if you're doing international project, you need, you know, you need to figure out a way to be able to communicate with your site. You know, it's not, okay, I get, you know, 2 months in Paris doing my research, you know, I mean,
That's actually an agreement with our policy.
okay, next. And just to share with you what the committee evaluates, these are the major categories. And, you know, it's on a continuous scale. And so you get a point score for each of those. And then it, you know, it just goes on points you've received and how you rack up with the rest of the pool. And you know, there's only so much money. And if you know, if you have $100,000, I don't know exactly, it's different every year. But let's just say you have $100,000 and it's $10,000. That means that 10 people will get funded.
So you do award multiple every year, multiple awards every year, not just one?
Yes. I think last year 7 were funded. So
About how many submissions do you get every year?
I'm between the two, I think, you know, there were 50 because we were you know, because we each had 10 to 15 proposals. And if there's discussion after the initial meeting and disagreement, then they pick another subcommittee to look at it again. So I think the process is very fair and thorough. And people do take it seriously. So anyway, you know, it's intrinsic merit, relevance of the project, your ability to carry out the project. And that's one of the things, you know, on that cover page where it asks you, there's a part that says, you know, your previous funding. They also want to know what have been your publications out of that, what have been your other grants that came from previous funding, what presentations have you done? So in other words, they're saying, we want people who are serious about this. And we don't want somebody who got money from us, you know, 2 years ago and there's no productivity. So, you know, if all things are equal in terms of the quality of the numbers and you've got somebody that doesn't have a record of productivity, the person with the productivity will be selected. So it's to your benefit to toot your own horn. Next. Okay, the Scholarly Pursuit Award, that's $5,000. And this is really, you can have a stipend, and this is paid at the end of the summer, and it is a commitment to do 1 month of intense work on this project only. This is full time. So in other words, you cannot be teaching. If you are saying I'm going to do it in summer A, you can't be teaching in summer A. You know, so you can teach summer B, but you have to declare that you will be available to only work on the project. And it can be for a publication, working on, you know, doing so much on a grant. And in order to get your money, you must submit your deliverable that you said you were going to produce. So if you don't have a deliverable, you don't get any money. And it can't be used to work on, so you've got projects funding from somebody else and you want to have devoted time to work on that. You're already being paid by somebody else. You can't use that project. Again, that's the productivity thing. Okay, next.
So in terms of like registered faculty, does that only include faculty and tenure track or tenure faculty? Is that what?
It doesn't, it includes full-time, that's where the register, and it does not include adjunct, emeriti. You must be, full-time during the academic year. So adjuncts can't. This is not a benefit for adjunct. Again, same guidelines in terms of form and lay terminology. The difference here is the specifics to what you will accomplish in that 1 month time frame. So I plan to work 60 hours a week getting this article finished. And again, it follows the same thing. I don't think I need to go through that again. But they really want to focus on what is going to be that outcome and your deliverable that you will turn in. So you have to, if you're doing a manuscript, they're expecting that, you will have the submitted to the journal letter thing that shows you did it. Okay. So the budget is the same directions for the seed grant, except for the total amount funded. Again, you can get the $3,000 stipend. You don't have to take the stipend if you don't want it. And again, IRB approval you must have all that in place before you start. And the same criteria for evaluation. So, 2 different purposes, 2 really terrific supports, I think, for faculty getting going on new research, taking a different direction in what they've done before, and faculty support for scholarship. And yes, Tracy asked for tips. And proofread. Run your spell check. I mean, I say that to students, I say that to faculty I work with. It is amazing to me. And that means that you also have to have somebody read it to catch those words that, this is the same thing you say to your students. But it is amazing that people will submit for that amount of money, and it's clear that they didn't proofread their application. So then people say, well, you're too lazy to proofread your application. What kind of work are you going to do? And that is just straight up. Use your best English and grammar. Pay attention to your sentence structure. We're writing at a college level. We're expected to produce at a college level. Make sure that, it's just basic English good writing is expected. And when people read something and they can't make heads or tails out of it, they come back and go, what? This person is teaching at the college level, Anyway, my main message, follow directions explicitly. And, because if you don't follow the directions, you're out of luck. So, and proof for clarity of your expression of your work and your ideas. Because you want this to be, this is good money. And when you can get $10,000, $5,000 for 6 pages and, 2 or 3 pages of upfront forms. So questions? Yeah.
2 questions. The first is, Do you have to submit any sort of report showing that you did what you said you were gonna do?
Oh, yes.
The second is, what are some other examples of the scholarly pursuit? You reference people writing and submitting a manuscript journal.
Somebody, maybe has been doing a writing of a tool or analyzing some specific kind of data set or, it's pretty open as long as, as long as you can show that it's going to forward your work to have a product at the end of 1 month.
So it's not an expectation that people will write a book.
Not in a month, no. You might have a chapter or, if you're doing a book and have an outline and have letters of commitment from all your chapter people and your contract with your publisher and those kinds of things. But you really have to show how what you're doing is going to further your scholarship.
Is there a limitation if, like, I'm new faculty this year?
Yes.
But I brought a project with me. It's never been funded before. It's something I started and self-funded on my own last year. But what I plan to do with this massive data set is use it to write an NSF undergraduate grant for improvement of instruction in the sciences. Does it matter that part of the data, or at least the early part that will inform the funding?
The $10,000, they won't fund that,
So
but the
because part of it's
5,000
already-
could.
Okay.
Because I tried, I will just tell you a personal story. I tried that, my first year here. And they said, this is not a new project. This is not a new direction for you. This
So it
is
has to be something you have never done before,
that you show that it's a significant new track that you're looking at. Then it would be, based on the analysis of my data, I have to go this direction. Then that would be fine.
Could she write for the scholarly pursuit, the
Yes.
second one, to have time to analyze the data?
Yes.
And her product would be the grant?
No, her
Or
product
just
could, her product could be, the write-up of the results section.
so it
Or,
doesn't even have to be a major project. It can just be an undertaking related to.
yeah, and probably an outline for the article that, and where you're gonna send it and all the things that will make it look like you're actually have accomplished something. More questions?
And it is absolutely not allowed for someone, we have a lot of faculty in our college who do teach 2 courses during summer A. So they absolutely prohibit any teaching.
During
To
the
have the second award.
month when you have the second
So we
award.
have it for
They could teach term
June
B,
and then have it for.
or they could
July.
teach term A and then they could do this term B.
Okay. Thank you.
But they cannot be have any teaching this time.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll be right back in a few minutes.
And just
Awesome, thank you. All right, I'm going to take our last couple of minutes here and talk very briefly about some of the changes and opportunities from the research committee. So for those of you that have been here for a while, you're used to the term seed grant, how we fund similar to the faculty seed grant. We've changed that name to the research support so that you don't have to necessarily have that external funding piece at the end. So if you go to the first slide of only two slides. So again, changing from the seed grant to research support grant to support research in different stages. So from an initial idea to data analysis to maybe some time to produce a manuscript or a product, and support in different dollar amounts. So in the past, we have had big research grants for $10,000 or $5,000, and perhaps you only need help with transcription. You need a little bit to get you over that hump. That might be an option, or travel to conduct your research, and of course, some summer salary. We are discussing having 3 potential dates: a November deadline, a February deadline, and if all goes well, perhaps an April deadline to support ongoing research in the college. And one last slide, thank you. So we do have some requirements when we need to align with one of our COE goals to increase grants and scholarship, collaborate with students are among our possibilities. We will require, and even if you're asking for just a small amount for transcription, we do expect quality research as our overview. We're in the process of developing a form for you to fill out that is based on NSF IES guidelines, and we'll have a rubric and template available for you in October if you're interested in that. Good. Any brief questions? All right, thank you. Oh, thank you all.
Okay, that concludes our broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us.